What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue here with our 2023 predictions. UCF is up next, and this is a team I've talked about as being a potential sleeper team in the Big 12. Let's look at some of the other predictions. The FPI is pretty high on this team, 7.7 and 4.4. So up there close to 8-4 with about a 10% chance of going to the Big 12 championship. Athlon has them at 6-6. The over-under I saw it 6.5 or 7. So Athlon's a little bit low on this team. Not really sure why. I look at this roster and this team, and I don't really see any weaknesses. I mean, they've got a lot of talent. Now, they don't have Alabama or Georgia talent, but they've got a lot of talent compared to other teams in the Big 12. They've added some key players in the transfer portal again, and they've done that really the last couple of years. So you've got guys that have played at the Power 5 level. I realize this is the first year in the Power 5 for UCF, but I think they can compete in the Big 12, and I think they're going to win a lot of games. I really do. If you're really, looking for a weakness, maybe the tight end position. They don't really have a go-to tight end. John Rice Plumlee throwing the ball down the field. That ultimately will probably be what holds them back. If they can't make some big plays through the air, then they're probably not going to go to the Big 12 championship. But if he can improve there and this team can become a little bit more balanced offensively, I think this team could be a dark horse to get to the Big 12 championship. And I've said it before, the experience on this team, the experience on Kansas, those two teams are loaded with returning production and experience. And both of those teams, to me, are the sleeper teams. Those are your two sleeper teams in the Big 12. If it's not Texas or TCU or Kansas State or Oklahoma or even Texas Tech, I think a lot of people are putting them in that conversation as well. But let's get to the schedule. Let's get to the predictions here. They'll open up with Kent State, and they'll play on the road at Boise State and Villanova. Obviously, Villanova should be an easy win. Kent State, I think, is going to be a pretty easy win. Boise State on the road, playing on the blue field. It's just not the same Boise State team that we have seen in the past. That program is not where it used to be, but still a respectable program, and that game should be fairly competitive. I don't see UCF going in there and blowing them out, but I think UCF will win the game by 9 or 10 points, maybe something like that. I think they get that win, and I think they'll start off 3-0 before their very first Big 12 conference game, and that's going to come against the defending champions, Kansas State, and it's going to be on the road. So that's a tough way to start. This is going to be a really good Kansas State team again this year, a team that has a chance to repeat in the Big 12. That's a pretty tough place to play. Some of these matchups we're going to get to see, like some of the new teams in the Big 12, and then looking forward, down the road next year in the SEC and the Big 10. You just get excited thinking about some of these matchups. But yeah, this is one that's really intriguing to me. UCF, Kansas State. I think it'll be a good one. I think it'll be a close game, but with home field advantage and a good, really good Kansas State team, I think that's going to be a little too much for UCF, and I'm going to say Kansas State does get this win. Next game is Baylor on September the 30th. You should see a lot of running of the football in this game. Both teams are going to want to run it. UCF obviously going to do it a little bit more of a spread type offense, but yeah, I think that's going to be the difference actually, is the offense for UCF. They're going to be able to score enough. Baylor, a team that's known for their physicality, their play in the trenches. Is that going to be enough for them to possibly go in there and pull off an upset? I don't think so. I think UCF is the better team. They're playing at home, and I think the offense will be a little too much for Baylor if they get the win. But another close game. You got Kansas next on October the 7th on the road. Going to be a Kansas team that, like I said, is also going to have a ton of experience. A lot of veterans on this team. This should be a really good one. A shootout, a lot of points. This will be your typical old school Big 12 game. Maybe a little bit more running than passing if you're talking about those old school Big 12 offenses. Both teams going to be able to run the football and spread you out and have quarterbacks that can run it as well. This is going to be an exciting matchup. Really, it comes down to home field advantage for me. This is a coin flip game. I'm going with Kansas to get this win, and I think they do give UCF their second loss. Then they'll play on the road at Oklahoma the next week. Another tough matchup here. Oklahoma, can they improve on defense? Well, the strength for Oklahoma this year on defense is going to be the front seven, especially the pass rush. They're going to have, and you look at the depth that they have at defensive end. This is going to be a really good defensive line, a really good pass rush. And that's really what you need to slow down the Gus Malzahn offense. If UCF was a little bit more explosive through the air, which I think they'll be pretty good, but I think Oklahoma's secondary will be able to hold up here, then you might could see UCF getting a win here. But I think Oklahoma's pass rush is going to make the difference in this game. Should be a good one, though. I think another close game, but Oklahoma does ultimately win this one. Then you've got West Virginia on October 28th at home. I think it'll be another close game. I mean, that's going to be the story in the Big 12. A lot of close games, a lot of exciting games. West Virginia, we know they like to run the football. You know their defense is going to be solid. It should be a good game, but UCF should win this game. Again, they're the better team. They're playing at home. I like them to take care of business here against West Virginia. Then you get Cincinnati on November the 4th. I've said it before. I think Cincinnati might be the worst team in the Big 12 this year. Lost a whole lot. New coaching staff. They brought in some transfers to where they're going to be competitive. I don't think they'll get blown out in many conference games. They'll be competitive. Plus, they're playing at home here, so that gives them a chance. It wouldn't shock me if UCF was upset here, but I'm going to go with UCF to get this one on the road. So I think they get to 6-3. Then you get Oklahoma State on November the 11th. Should be another pretty good matchup here. I think this will be a pretty high-scoring game as well. We'll see what happens in this one. You know, Oklahoma State's going to have a lot of new faces. I think people are kind of writing them off because they had so many players transfer out. But you have to look at the players they brought in, the new transfers that I think are going to make them competitive. And ultimately, it could come down to how good Alan Bowman is. I haven't seen him in the Big 12 in a while. If he winds up playing really well for them and they can score a lot of points, this is going to be a tough one for UCF to win. But I think UCF is going to be able to get it. Playing at home, again, might make the difference. Pretty tough place to play down there in Orlando. So I think UCF gets this win at home. They beat Oklahoma State, get to 7-3. Probably ranked at this point if you're 7-3. Maybe not a signature win here, so who knows what the playoff committee would do. But you've got Texas Tech here on the 18th on the road. This is just going to be a really good team, a team that can match UCF, I think, as far as talent goes, as far as experience goes. They're not far behind, and at the line of scrimmage, this is going to be a good Texas Tech team. I think they're a little bit better than UCF. I think it's another close game, but playing at home, I do like UCF, or I do like Texas Tech, I should say, to beat UCF and get this win. So I've got UCF dropping their fourth game of the season. They'll close things out with Houston, another team that I think people are looking at Houston and Cincinnati and thinking that these teams are really not going to compete in the Big 12 this year. I kind of disagree with that. I think both teams are going to be able to compete. Are they going to be able to win? I mean, how many games will they be able to win? We'll see. But I think UCF is still probably the better team here. Plus, they're playing at home. That is enough for me to go with UCF to win this game. And BYU kind of in that same conversation, what I was getting at. A lot of people think Houston and Cincinnati and maybe BYU, maybe even UCF are not going to compete in the Big 12. I think all those teams will fit in nicely this year. I don't see any of them being terrible. Like I said, UCF might be the worst, or Cincinnati might be the worst team, but I think UCF is the best team out of those four, and I think they're going to show it on the field. I've got this team going 8-4. They don't play Texas. They don't play TCU. They don't have a very tough non-conference schedule. So really would be a disappointment, I think, if they don't at least get to 7-5. And I think there's potential for them to maybe even get to 9-3 if they could knock off, say, Kansas on the road. Maybe get to 9-3. That's probably about the ceiling. But I'm going right there in the middle again at 8-4. Give me your thoughts, your predictions for UCF down in the comments below.